Thank you, Madam Speaker. Media has characterized the loss of the UN Security Council bid as Mr. Trudeau's, as opposed to Canada's. Is this because he preaches to the international community about racism, even though he has a history as a blackface practitioner?
The Honourable Minister.
On many occasions, always stands up for human rights. We stand against anti-Black racism. We stand against any kind of discriminatory practices, and we will continue.
Rempel.
Did Mr. Trudeau secure Iran's vote by bowing to its dictatorial foreign minister, failing to get answers on an alleged Iranian government missile strike that killed Canadian citizens, and supporting measures that could harm Israel?
The Honourable Minister.
Madam Speaker, as I have previously stated, when it comes to the victims of the Ukrainian flight that was downed earlier this year, Canada has demanded justice and transparency. We have been firm and committed to this. We will continue to do everything we can to get justice for the families.
Ms. Rempel.
Sure, Jan. Does Mr. Trudeau think that he lost Canada's votes because he moralizes on women's rights while making female cabinet ministers answer questions about his diminishment of groping allegations laid out against him, suggesting that his accuser had experienced things differently?
The Honourable Minister.
Madam Speaker, we will take no lessons from the Conservative Party when it comes to women's rights. It was under their government that they cut funding for organizations that provided women a right to choose. It was under their leadership that they walked back women's rights around the world.
Ms. Rempel.
We will continue.
Does Mr. Trudeau think that he jeopardized India's vote for a UN Security Council seat because he pranced around India with a man who was convicted of the attempted assassination of an Indian state cabinet minister?
The Honourable Minister.
Madam Speaker, I would really like to take this opportunity to acknowledge all of the hard work of Team Canada that they put into the UN Security Council campaign. This was a collective effort, and we need to be thankful and so grateful for the incredibly talented.
Ms. Rempel.
Trudeau think that he might have lost Canada votes because while he preached about feminism, Indigenous rights, and upholding the rule of law, he was simultaneously turfing Jody Wilson-Raybould for speaking truth to his privileged power in the SNC-Lavalin scandal?
The Honourable Minister.
Madam Speaker, Canada has taken a leadership role when it comes to transparency and openness, when it comes to data collection, when it comes to governance. In fact, one of the top requests I get as International Development Minister is providing technical assistance when it comes to governance.
Mrs. Rempel. Mrs. Rempel.
Does Mr. Trudeau think he lost Canada's bid because despots and authoritarian countries think that he will continue to hand out billions, steak dinners, and Celine Dion concerts with no strings attached while he racks up the Canadian national debt and people in Canada go without?
The Honourable Minister.
Madam Speaker, it's unfortunate that the member opposite thinks that providing emergency food security assistance to the world's most vulnerable is a waste of our money. It's unfortunate that she thinks that ensuring that women have a right to choose is a waste of our money. It's unfortunate.
Mrs. Rempel.
That we lost the UN Security Council bid. Minister Justin Trudeau is not respected on the world stage. Now that Mr. Trudeau has lost, will he commit to pushing for reform at the UN, securing the release of the Michaels from China, upholding Israel's right to exist as a state, and speaking against authoritarian countries' abuses of democracy or attempt to erode Canadian sovereignty?
The Honourable Minister.
Madam Speaker, I guess the honourable member has not been paying attention because that is what the Prime Minister and this government have done over the last 4.5 years. We have stood by Israel. We have stood by our commitment to a two-state solution. We have stood against authoritarianism. We have worked.
Ms. Rempel.
and we will continue to
what
do
this
that.
government has done is voted against Israel at the UN, has failed to stand up to China for the Michaels, all for this bid that they didn't secure. So my question is this. Mr. Trudeau yesterday said Canada is large enough to make a difference, but we know we can't do it alone. Given everything that I've said and that Mr. Trudeau received less votes than Mr. Harper did, does Ms. Gould think that perhaps Canada would be better off doing it without Mr. Trudeau?
Brief answer from the minister.
Madam Speaker, Canada is committed to the UN system. We are committed to multilateralism. As a middle power, we know that this is how we will continue to make an influence in the world, and we will do that proudly with our Canadian values at the lead. Thank you, Madam Speaker.